Crouch, touch, pause, engage. Welcome to another installment of Talking Point, unpacking the big sporting stories of the week with our top citizen sports journalists. And if you've been listening more recently, some special guests lined up as well. The issues getting sports fans talking in the pubs, the clubs, the taxis, or your favourite watering holes. Welcome to it. Once again, my name's Trevor Cramer. Joining me this week, match fit as always, ready to play the game, the head of Citizen Sport. Welcome back, Jacques van der Westhuizen.
Hello, Trevor. Hello, everybody.
Now, the Citizen Sports drone is still pretty much focused predominantly on rugby this week, without detracting 1 ounce from Brad Binder's incredible exploits on his KTM factory bike last weekend in Spain. But I'm going to kick off very quickly and then periodically pop a pass across to Jacques. It's quarter-final week in the United Rugby Championship, so the heat well and truly on. From a South African perspective, old north-south bitter rivals, the Stormers, the Bulls, they clash in Cape Town. Should be a humdinger, for loss of a better word. The defending champions, as we've discussed at length previously in our show, they've never lost to the Bulls since the inception of the URC in 2021. That's 5 meetings. Currie Cup encounter last week went decisively the way of Western Province, with John Dobson's hand, I think, clearly in the mixing bowl there as well. But that should surely have no bearing on the weekend showdown, Jacques, or should it?
I don't think it'll have any bearing on what happens this weekend. As you alluded to, the Stormers have dominated against the Bulls over the last 2 seasons. And it's going to be an interesting one because, following these 2 teams over the season, the Stormers are definitely the stronger team. They've played more consistently. They've won more often. They've secured that home playoff match. However, the Bulls seem to have found some sort of momentum and form at the right time of the season. They've produced some quality outings in the last 2-3 weeks. They've got into those playoffs. The goal that Jake White set before his team when things were going wrong, he asked them just to get into the playoffs, and he still believes that anything can happen in the playoffs. It's a new competition now, which it really is. He wanted a shot at it. He's got a shot at it. And I think the Stormers will be a little bit wary. This Bulls team has been written off this season. They've had a lot of struggles. They've had their ups and downs. But Jake has got a way of getting his players motivated. He always has. He's always had some sort of ace up his sleeve. And I think the Bulls are going to go to Cape Town this weekend believing that they can actually win this match. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were to pull it off.
Slightly nervous times for the coaches, but Jacques, I sense just from media through the week, Jake White, possibly the more nervous of the two. He rightly points out, and you've alluded to it, and I quote White here from SA Rugby Magazine and The Citizen, "It's irrelevant how many games you've won out of 18 or if they've beaten you in the pool stages. The point is now who plays the best at the back end of the tournament." Your views on that one?
Absolutely. Everything that has happened up to now is almost like a foundation for the next 3 matches. If you're going to go all the way, you need to win your quarter, your semi, and your final. So everything is sort of built up to this stage of the season now, and it's been a long season. And like I said, I think the Bulls have had their troubles, but they've sort of found something in the last couple of weeks. They've really played well. Some of the players that were struggling earlier have come to the fore in the last couple of weeks. So the Bulls are looking almost dangerous in a sense. And I think some of them will be thinking, and I know Jake White will be thinking, the Stormers are maybe there for the taking. And as you said earlier, Jake is a guy that has a lot of ambition. He wants to win competitions. He's won the World Cup. When he took over at the Bulls during the COVID years, things went swimmingly for that union. They won the Currie Cup, they won the Super Rugby Unlocked competition, they won the Currie Cup again. Everything seemed to just work in their favour and in Jake's favour. And he's a guy with a lot of pride. He's desperate to win. He's desperate to turn around this losing sequence against the Stormers, and he will be desperate to get one over the Stormers. And I think he's going to do everything in his power to achieve that.
Now, looking at the other hand, Jacques, some pundits like Joel Stransky said this week in our very newspaper, and you can go and check it out on citizen.co.za, just click on sport. He feels he just can't see the Bulls dominating the Stormers' pack, breakdown and defence. He says the Stormers will shade it, perhaps. What are your views on that one?
Yeah, as I've said, it's very even at this stage, and you would have to back the Stormers because of their consistency over the season. And over last season, they really are South Africa's strongest outfit at this stage. There's no doubt about that. The thing with the Stormers is they just know each other so well, and they've really gelled into a formidable unit over the last two seasons. And that is why I think Stransky alludes to that tight five and that pack. Whether Evan Roos has played or Hakjiva Dayamani has come in and played or Marcel Tennyson, it hasn't really upset them or bothered them. One of our colleagues, Ross Roach, has alluded to it as well previously, is that the Stormers are a team who've somehow found a way to still win and perform well, even when their big-name stars haven't been there. And those big-name stars have been missing at times this year when some of them have had to rest for Springbok purposes, and they've brought in the fringe players. They've still played well. They've played the same type of rugby. So they really are a formidable unit up front. They've got a powerful front row. They've got great locks, and then they've got a very dynamic back row. And whoever has played there, they've performed well. So, the Bulls have struggled at times, even last weekend when they played in the Currie Cup, as Bulls against Western Province. They were there and thereabouts for a lot of the game, and they tried hard. They almost had some sort of dominance at stages, but they just couldn't break down that Stormers pack and that Stormers defence, which was resolute for much of that encounter. So, yeah, it's going to be a big ask for the Bulls to go down to Cape Town and win, but I still think Jake has got... will have some sort of message to send to his players and get them really hyped up. And you never know on the day. It's 80 minutes, and anything can happen in those 80 minutes.
And I think you've summed up the key areas that will make all the difference in this game very accurately. Turning our attention to the Sharks match against Irish powerhouse Leinster in the second of the quarterfinals involving South African sides. A huge ask for Neil Powell's men. I again refer to Joel Stransky's view. He maintains that the Sharks' game plan is just too predictable and not suited to beat Leinster. Not only that, they're missing talisman Siya Kolisi and Eben Etzebeth. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even only Siya and Eben that are missing. Jaden Hendrickse is missing, and so is Kerwin Bosch. And those two players have really formed a fantastic relationship over the course of this URC season. Kerwin Bosch has regained confidence and played fairly well after struggling a year or so ago. And we all know how great Jaden Hendrickse has been since coming into that Sharks team and getting that number 9 jersey. So they're missing a key combination there at 9 and 10. And then, of course, those other big-name players who you mentioned are missing. And, you take those 4 guys out of a starting 15, it's significant, and we can't look past that. And, of course, the Sharks have to go to Ireland against and play against a Leinster team that are so full of confidence and so motivated after, getting past Toulouse last weekend in the Champions Cup semis. They're a side that want to make up for the disappointment of missing out last year. They really are this competition's strongest outfit, and I think that they have a real determination to go all the way this year. And the Sharks have been up and down all season long. I think they qualified in 8th position with just 50% wins, out of their 18 matches. I think they won 9. It just shows you there was no consistency in their season. They're winning, 1 out of every 2 games, 50%. There's just something lacking there. And with those players missing that we spoke about, I'm almost fearful for what could happen to the Sharks in Dublin this Saturday.
At least one South African franchise guaranteed a place in the last 4. Let's very quickly get your call on the remaining 2 matches, Jacques. Glasgow Warriors face Munster. Ulster welcome Connacht.
Yeah, Glasgow, I've been coached by Franco Smith. He's done wonders there this season. They've also qualified for the Challenge Cup final, which is fantastic for them. And Franco Smith has turned that side around in the last year. He's only been there for this season, and already they are playing in playoffs and one final. So, having spoken to some of the rugby guys over the course of the season, going to Glasgow and winning is very, very difficult. And on home soil, you would have to fancy Glasgow. However, Munster will have Ergia Snyman back after sitting out with a head knock over the last 2 weeks. Munster on the side also, that on their day they can beat anybody. So that should be a very interesting one. But I'll go with the home side there. And then obviously the other one, Ulster against Connacht, 2 Irish teams. Ulster have flown under the radar a bit. But I think they won 13 or 14 out of their 18 games. So they've had a lot of consistency. They've won regularly. They understand each other. They understand their game. And I can't see them coming unstuck at home against their fellow countrymen.
Jacques, something that's really got your goat this week. Siya Kolisi's status and the hush-hush from key role players. That's SA Rugby and the Sharks, perhaps we're referring to here, surrounding Siya's knee operation. Come on, get it off your chest.
Yeah, it has. It has frustrated me. I think, this is our World Cup winning captain, a key component going to France later this year. And, I was watching the game on the weekend or a couple of days ago, last weekend actually, and I saw the injury happen. I saw him go off the field and, everybody, I think, including myself, wants to know, what sort of injury is it? How serious is it? Is he going to have to undergo surgery? And if so, how long is he going to be out for? But there's almost been no word on the matter. Some, smart media guys have, dug and asked their sources for some information. And we found out that it was a partially torn ACL in his right knee, that he would require surgery. He hurt his meniscus as well, that he would require surgery or repair to be done on that injury. But we haven't heard anything official from anybody until this morning, actually, this earlier in the week. So, and all SA Rugby said was, they confirmed he went for an operation, but they didn't give any indication of what sort of operation it was, what was repaired, for how long he's going to be out for. We still don't know. I was told when I made some inquiries that only Siya Kolisi himself could tell the public what was wrong with him, and that was according to the POPIA Act. So nobody knows even whether it was an ACL, whether it was a meniscus, which one of those two or both were repaired or were none of them repaired at all, and whether he's going to be fit in 4 months' time when the World Cup begins. So, yeah, I'm disappointed in the Sharks and maybe SA Rugby for not letting the public know. It seems unusual normally in these cases, players when of such high standing pick up injuries that are potentially threatening to a career or a long time out of the game. These things are normally communicated fairly well. But in this case, everybody is still in the dark about it, and it is frustrating. As I sit here now talking to everybody, I don't have a clue whether he's actually got a 10% chance of being fit for the World Cup or a 90% chance of being fit for the World Cup. And this is our captain that we are speaking about. It's not just a random club player.
Galloping along, the Currie Cup continues. Another big weekend for the Lions. They are in Kimberley against Griquas. The Pumas should have too much firepower for the Griffins in Bombela, but we never know these days. Western Province, they're up against table toppers Free State, and the Blue Bulls host the Sharks at Loftus. More on this story, I'm sure, in our motoring podcast at citizen.co.za. But Jacques, the flag's flying this week. Brad Binder, what a week.
Yeah, the guy's been fantastic since entering MotoGP. He had a great debut season. He's just kicking on this year. He's obviously, found something in that KTM of his. He loves those sprint races. He's won 2 of them now. And he was really right up there, right until the very end in the main race. So I'm delighted for him. I think he's a guy that has big ambitions of winning the championship, winning titles and that. And it sometimes feels that his bike just isn't there. Even though he's a guy that's probably got the most guts and the most bravery out of all of those riders in the MotoGP, circuit. And I hope that that bike of his can do some things for him, because he's a guy that doesn't show any fear. And well done to him.
Before we wrap it, the start of a massive boxing fortnight in South Africa this weekend. Starts off on Saturday night at the UNISA Conference Centre in Ormonde in Johannesburg. The bill dubbed the Night of Champions, promoted by Boxing 5. And that tournament features Heki Butler, world contender still, DJ Kriel, Smangele Smash Hadebe, and of course Hedda the Shredder Wolmerans. And then next week, of course, at Empress Palace, former IBO Cruiserweight champion Kevin Lerena back in action again following his knockout defeat to Daniel Dubois. This time he enters the mix in the fledgling WBC Bridgerweight division, and I'll be hoping to chat to Kevin sometime during the week. Before we wrap it this week, our popular flop and gold star of the week feature. My flop of the week, no sour grapes here, I promise you, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp. Always moaning, always a gripe about something, win or lose. This time having a go at referee Paul Tierney after the Reds' dramatic last gasp 4-3 victory over Spurs last weekend and his ridiculous behaviour. Time for another touchline ban, I think. And my gold star, that goes to, well, who else? We mentioned him a little earlier in the show, Brad Binder. Another sprint victory in Spain, second in the Spanish MotoGP behind Francesca Banai, who was on a Ducati, and of course Binder on his factory KTM bike. Now third overall on the MotoGP World Championship standings, a realistic contender. Dare we dream. Jacques, your flop and your gold star of the week.
Yeah, I mean, we also spoke about it just recently. My flop goes to the Sharks and SA Rugby for just giving the public simply so little information about Sia. I think there's a lot of concern around him. He's a key member of that Springbok team, if not one of the very key members in that pack. He's the leader, and the communication around his injury has been very disappointing. My star of the week, I agree, Binder was fantastic, but I'm going to go back to a guy that I've given the start to previously, and that's Faf du Plessis. He just keeps on scoring the runs in the IPL. It's incredible. He's on course to produce his best season ever in the IPL, and whether he's hitting sixes and boundaries and scoring it at a rate of 200, or whether he's doing what he did earlier this week at a rate of just over 100, to guide his team with a well played score of just in the 40s, having assessed conditions. He's a guy that has shown time and time again that his experience is unbelievable, and he is a guy that the Proteas certainly have to consider for world tournaments.
And on that note, that does it for this week's instalment of Talking Point. Thanks for listening. Jacques van der Westhuizen, Head of Citizen Sport, thanks again for joining us, sharing your insight and immense knowledge of sporting matters. My name's Trevor Cramer. This has been Talking Point. You'll find us on citizen.co.za, or why not follow Citizen News on Iono FM. Remember, don't wait for the opportunity, just create it. May all your days be sporting days. Till next time, bye for now.